So this is a video about a EF3 tornado that went through Clarksville, Tennessee, where I have a friend and an acquaintance through that friend. They were heavily affected. Clarksville, Tennessee was pretty much destroyed in a lot of areas, lots of injuries. So the acquaintance, she was part of an eyewitness story for Discovery through Arrow Media here. And I had told her that I would show her in the charts the event occurring. She works for the U.S. Mail, and I snagged this picture of her van as I was listening to the episode. And I do that so that I can gather as many relevant asteroids as possible to show everything lined up. So you can see here the broken glass on the van, and she had reported during her emergency call that she was sitting in the van all in glass. And so I saved this screenshot from the Discovery show, In the Eye of the Storm, Chaos in Clarksville, because I have two asteroids. In the Eye of the Storm is Torricelli, and of course I have asteroid Chaos, which is literally chaos, and also it is a cosmic creativity from the universe. So, very interesting titles they chose. And I became aware of this involvement of her from a post on Facebook about Discovery Network airing the story. So I also have used Discovery. I could use Dorothy. That's both of my grandmother's names that have been prevalent lately. But we're going to leave that one out because we have enough to go over. For this video, I'm going to use her progress chart to show. I pulled up a great number of different ways of looking at it, but I'll be using the progress chart. This is the natal chart, the energies of where she was, where everything was when she was born. So just a quick refresher, in a natal chart, the things that are here on the inside are where the planets, asteroids, everything were lined up in the constellations at the exact moment of her birth. And on the outside are transiting planets, which go counterclockwise unless it is a node of fate, these horseshoes here, or a retrograde planet where you'll see the little R here, or when I have to type it, I'll put RX. So otherwise, the planets are going at different rates all the way around. So it's always amazing to see how everything lines up numerically because these bodies do not have the same travel rates. So some important numbers to point out before I jump to her progress chart, which is her chart growth since her birth at the time. Her part of fortune, which is your lot in life, luck in life, is 10 degrees in Libra, 9th house. That's the spiritual journey house, publications, beliefs and philosophies. It's ruled by Jupiter, and she has Sun conjunct Jupiter from her birth, opposite Saturn, which is her chart ruler, 22 degrees. I put my current last name in here just because in the progress chart, especially Nessus, the troublemaker, for healing generational and karmic traumas, is at that degree, along with something else. Her first name, which is her actual first name, sits here at 23 degrees, 23 minutes, and I'll get to the angel number numerology of that in a moment. Discovery, 29 degrees, which today is September 22nd, 2025, and we just had our 29-degree Virgo new moon, which was also an eclipse. And you'll see a lot of numbers in the progress chart matching up to Phallus, the beginning of something, 7 degrees. The 15 Pluto, our eclipse a couple of weeks ago, the blood moon eclipse in Pisces was at 15 degrees, 24 minutes, I believe, 23 minutes. So this is finishing that out. She was born with Eris, discord for positive change, and the rebel that stands up for those that can't stand up for themselves, conjunct her moon. And that's in her third house community, Aries. That's the sign of the warrior, the leader. Her north node is in Aquarius, which is humanitarian, eccentric, different. I don't know a whole lot about her. That's why I refer to her as an acquaintance, but I have been learning and have been impressed with some of the things, Aquarian things, that she has started on her own. Her vertex, Destiny's Gateway, is almost 22 degrees also, like her Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, and her first name. So her anti-vertex would be exactly across here. And so anything that crosses across the anti-vertex especially is very significant. She also has Uranus and Neptune in the 12th house, which of course is linked to the subconscious, past lives. She does quantum hypnosis, trained under Dolores Cannon, so she is able to do things that a lot of us can't in relation to past lives and exposing them. Let's see. So she has Pluto here in conjunct Vesta, and I've always said that the inconjunct is a very karmic degree. It's the idiot savant degree, basically, where we're going through life and we don't know what we're doing, but we're doing exactly the right thing. And in transit, it always seems to really show karmic events that were predestined. The two quincunxes or inconjuncts, 5 signs apart, when they connect, make a finger of God aspect. When you have, for instance, Mars and Venus here in a sextile, would be in conjunct to this point right here where Saturn and Neptune are. So that's a finger of God. Okay, so when I move to the progress chart, I just want to give a quick overview. And as always, as I'm closing it out, her midheaven and IC emotional foundation, the midheaven is the most public part of her chart, is 4 degrees 43 minutes, which connects to some eclipses at the time I'll show in the progress chart. And of course, her 1 degree Taurus Mars. So, like I said, there's a lot of numbers. She has quirk here, just on her 10th side public house, which is also the house of career. Sits right at her midheaven in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto. That was activated by this eclipse in Pisces 2 weeks ago. And in Pisces, that's her 2nd house, which is her personal beliefs and values, her self-worth, assets, physical and inherited. And of course, Gianna sits in there. So now we go from that clean, pretty chart to this. I could have added in a lot more. I wasn't going to add in as many things, and of course, I can never resist. So I made myself some notes on some things. Her story on Discovery Network aired August 24th, 2025 by London, Britain Company. She was on Britain Springs Road in Clarksville when her van crashed. So we have the double Britain there, connecting then and now. And then we have 3rd house and Gemini and Mercury rule media, social media, communications, mail carriers, post office. And the air date for the discovery was right in between the new moon in Leo at 23:16 and full moon in Pisces at 7:24. So right here there was a new moon December 12th, 2023, and this tornado happened 3 days before. So that would take it 3 days back for the sun at 17 degrees. We have a lot of 17 degrees. I marked with the six-pointed star, the Star of David, which meant to the pagans and others before religion current came along, that meant magic, connection to all of the elements, including ether. So the tornado happened 3 days before. Now it's very important to point out the sun was at the Great Attractor, which is a black hole, at 16 degrees 36 minutes, and it was exactly opposite asteroid Clark at 1635. So that gets us started there at this point. The exact location that I used that I don't believe anybody else does was at 1626. So again, a finger of God to the Great Attractor, to the sun, formed here with Clarksville, and the exact location. And don't listen to me about the finger of God. That would connect to her part of fortune here, 11th house Capricorn. The finger of God was not with the sun. All right, so this is what I get for trying to think and go. Okay, so now we have that out of the way. I screwed up. I do that. Connecting also, I'm going to leave this one for just a moment. Her Eris in progressed is in the second house, Aries, and of course her natal moon in Aries, we're at 17.5 degrees here. There was a new moon total solar eclipse April 8th, 2024 that came after this tornado event. And then the new moon solar eclipse at 21:07 October 14th that also came right after this tornado event. So I don't know what she had going on in her life and what changes she made, but we always move along with these eclipses and moon cycles. So also connecting in that Star of David is asteroid Storm in transit at 17 degrees 31 minutes, which would connect to her natal moon in Eris and her progressed Eris here. Second house is also the money house. She was working when this happened. And then we have asteroid Mail-in, which of course she works through the mail, 1745, right here next to Clark, and connecting, trying to Saturn in Capricorn, which is the career, government, etc., all connecting at 19 degrees to this total solar eclipse here that was ahead. All right, so I'm going to get back to this one. There are probably 70 different van asteroids, and I tried looking through to see which ones I could put since she was in a van. Van sitters tickled me, so I plugged it in to see where it was, and it's a 1749, and connecting to mail in here, 1745 in a positive trine, and to her Eris and her moon. So van sitters I chose because in her Eyewitness account she was saying that she was sitting in her van in glass. And van sitters, okay, third house communication, Taurus, rules that second house here, moon and Eris. It was sitting on her chaos, and I'm not ready to jump to green yet, but I did throw in mail-in and glass because she said she was sitting in the broken glass, and showing how they connect to her quirk here. in the progressed and other things. We'll get back to that. All right, so we're going around in circles. What do we want to hit next? Probably the most prevalent color here in the chart is the yellows. And I had pointed out in her natal chart her Sun conjunct Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is spiritual connection and protection, as well as ruling that ninth house spiritual path esoterically. And we have transit flood at 2324, faith on 2335, Democles 26, all sitting here at her progressed ascendant at 2332, and her natal anti-vertex Destiny's Gateway is at 2158, where Manwe, the god of winds, was at 2157 in her progressed chart. Okay, are you following me here? Now, flood, it did rain. I don't know that it flooded. Flood is related to Lemurian and Atlantis energies, and it was sitting right here at her chart. I have done enough tornado charts for some special friends that it seems to me there is an energy produced with all the high winds and the tornadoes and events like this that seems to stir something up inside of our bodies. I mean, we are energy, made of energy, and the energy around us is affected. And I do believe that being involved in this tornado, and especially she did have a fracture in her spine, that something was adjusted. So these are all after or opposite transit Van Sitters at 2227. Her natal vertex, and her progressed sun was at 2420 Leo. Now, of course, Leo is sign of the heart, opening the heart, and square 2 transit rain is making a T-square here, and a complete grand square to her progressed rain and Mars, sitting here at her natal first name, and her maiden name was retrograding back over to it, and this makes a real tight energy here needing release. Mars is how we get around, third house community. Mars is how we take action. It is rules the Aries, the leadership, and rules her Pluto in progressed and her Pluto in natal. Britain, which is the road, and also where the discovery is. So co-rules with Scorpio, everything in Scorpio and everything in Aries. Where these eclipses here were very active. Her moon in Eris also. I know that she just recently went to Sedona and met Bashar and had an incredible time. So definitely her moon, her intuition, and all were pushed forward. So also connecting in the yellows, we have America at almost 21 degrees here, retrograde in her progressed chart. Transit Neptune and Tornado, which I use for tornado. Neptune ruling rain, 24 degrees, 55 minutes, 25:42, almost exactly conjunct. And those are connecting around, I like 2 degrees each way when I look for connections. And sometimes we get those exact, almost exact to the minute connections. But they connect to her natal Saturn. Her last name was just transiting over her natal Saturn, and Saturn rules her Capricorn rising chart. The nodes of fate at 2341, the south node here in her 8th house, opposite the north node in her 2nd house, that self-worth, beliefs, and her assets inherited. The North Node was conjunct Eris, which would, of course, would activate her Eris Moon conjunction. And make sure we got all of these. Her progressed Gaia is opposite this North Node in Eris, Gaia being Mother Earth. She's a beekeeper now. I'm not sure when she started that. This is the 8th house, which rules transformation and holistic, and the Scorpio house, ruled by Pluto. Kali in transit at 2051 was making a positive trine here to the god of winds, her natal anti-vertex and her vertex, and everything in this area. So Kali is destruction. She's the goddess of destruction. She's the goddess of awakening. And making a square to her last name here. And a sextile to Van Sitters. And all of this, her progressed sun. And squaring. This one's fun. Her natal Jupiter and Sun conjunctions at 22 degrees. Her progressed Chiron here and Britain bounds are all right here with her progressed Sturm, which is German for storm. Weathers was retrograding back to it. So her progressed Chiron and Britain bounds here at her natal Sun-Jupiter connection also connect to this new moon solar eclipse, October 14th, 2023. The tornado event happening just before this new moon, opposite her natal Saturn and her current last name. So this is a really big deal because this is the house of Cancer, which is home and family, deep inner emotions, but also her intuition, ruled by the moon. And Britain bounds I chose because in her Eyewitness accounts, she had said that she knew that emergency help couldn't reach her because basically she was out of bounds. She was out of an area. So very interesting. All right, so that's just the yellows. All right, so remember her part of fortune was 10 degrees in Libra. So just real quick, we can do some 10s that are 9 and 10s that are in green. And Mars, which is considered the eclipse activator, here in Sagittarius, which is another Jupiter-ruled sign, 10th ruled by Saturn in Capricorn. So Mars is here at 10 degrees 22 minutes and sextile to her natal part of fortune here, which is sitting on Montgomery. This is in the 8th house. You know, that's a really emotionally intense events ruled by Pluto in our transformation. And so Montgomery, I don't know how long she lived there in that county, sitting at her natal part of fortune, connecting to Mars. Her first name was retrograde at 8:45 here, and that is making a finger of God. And connecting to her Hades, here in this moon-ruled 4th house, Mercury-ruled Gemini. And connecting to Malin and Glass, which are almost exactly conjunct here in Virgo, the sign of health. Apparently she got very cut up. So Hades is considered, you know, to be the hell. Hades is also things happening as they should. And Mars, how we get around the head, is opposite Hades. Mars is also a lot of movement, such as movement of air in a tornado. And that also connects to transit glass at 10:33 here, and to the exact location asteroid in transit at 10 degrees 11 minutes here. Gonna double check real quick because sometimes I do forget to color them, like her first name here. No, we'll just leave it there. It's almost impossible to cover everything. So let's go to, we had 2 weeks ago in 2025, we had that 15-degree Pisces blood moon eclipse, 15 degrees. And of course, our regressed Pluto then was 15 degrees. And that's what I was pointing here is the September 7th total eclipse. Closing out a chapter. Apophis in transit was just crossing over her Pluto. And Apophis is another one of the Lemurian Atlantis related asteroids. At its highest and at its lowest, it's catastrophe. Connecting to the great attractor in the sun here, and of course the moon. Was right here. And so that would have been making one of those Yod's finger of gods to her chaos and van sitters here in the third house community. Let's see. Her progressed storm at 1554 was also connecting to the sun in Clarksville down here. Her progressed moon in Cancer, where it's home in the 5th house of creativity, hobbies, creativity, and what we came here to do and enjoy. Was also trying the total eclipse point, the 7th, but her moon at 15 degrees 21 minutes, making a positive trine to her Pluto, and making a positive trine to transit Nessus, right at the total eclipse point that we just had. Nessus being the troublemaker, kind of like Eris, leading to positive changes, healing generational and karmic traumas. So then we have Chiron, speaking of generational and karmic traumas. Chiron, the wounded healer, also at 15.5 degrees, connecting in that karmic inconjunct to this recent total eclipse, and where transit Apophis was, trine to the great attractor, semi-sextile to Nessus, squaring the eclipse point and her moon then, trine to the location. So, and Chiron wounds and wounding opposite her progressed storm. Okay, let's see. All right, we'll do some light blues now, because the Virgo new moon that we are in right now, opposite Saturn, her natal chart ruler, Pluto was at 20 degrees 42 minutes, which is almost exactly our current eclipse degree in a trine. So Pluto transforms, rules the Scorpio in the 8th house, and activates our natal and progressed and all Plutos. So it's making a connection here to transit Manwy at 0 degrees 51 minutes. To Jupiter, opposite that total eclipse point. Of course, her natal Jupiter is conjunct her sun. So her progressed Jupiter is very close to Damocles here at 035, opposite this Pluto, and connecting to Manwy at 051. Let me throw up Damocles real quick. Okay, so I couldn't find it where it fit in the screen, but Damocles is crises, drastic change. So Manwy here was making a trine to her progressed Damocles, sitting here at Jupiter, and to her maiden name in her progressed, conjunct Torricelli. Now we're back to the eye of the storm. And the moon in transit was on her progressed Poseidon, which of course is also Neptune, rain, weather, as well as the ruler of Pisces. And written at 29 degrees, making that positive trine to Jupiter, Damocles, Manwy, Pluto. And right here we have at 29 degrees 13 minutes Torricelli, eye of the storm, connecting to all of those. Her progressed discovery was conjunct her progressed Tenji, which is one I use for Tennessee. And Tenji is actually Japanese. That'll take me down a whole nother road if we get going on that one. But transit Tenji was at 26 degrees 16 minutes, connecting all around also. And there was something. Oh, I marked them with these so I wouldn't forget. So that connects to transit Damocles, the crisis, drastic changes right here that had just crossed over her Aquarius ascendant, to Neptune and Tornio. Tornio was at 25 degrees 42 minutes, so very close to 26 degrees, squaring Tenji. Like I said, I think there was 18 total tornadoes in that outbreak, and most of them occurred in Tennessee. Change. That's what it is. Her progressed change here in Gemini, her community, was opposite transit Tenji, connecting to Neptune and Tornio in a T-square. Okay. Moon and Poseidon, all of that. So, let's see what else we can show that's really cool. We have, if you want to call it cool, storm at 1731. It's making an inconjunct here to her progressed Eris and her natal moon in Eris. And all of the 17 degrees around, her progressed chaos of 17 degrees, her progressed Van Sitters, 1749. All the ones that I had marked here with the Star of David. So what else is left? We have her progressed Nessus, which I had said that's the troublemaker. That's the healing of generational and karmic traumas at its highest. Nessus at 3 degrees 31 minutes in her progressed chart is sitting right just over the supergalactic center black hole, which I forgot to mention, of course, that Tenji at 26 degrees and all of these marked here are sitting at the galactic center, about 26, 27 degrees Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter again. So Nessus at the supergalactic center in her regress chart is connecting to her natal my last name. I think the last thing to do is the purples. Lots of purples as well. And her progressed first name was at Gemini, 3rd house community, 5 degrees 28 minutes. There was a full moon just ahead, November 27th, 2023, right near to that at 4:51. which makes connections to her midheaven and to her IC in her natal chart. So all of the purple ones will also do that. There was a full moon lunar eclipse, partial at 5 degrees 3 minutes, October 28th, just before the tornado. Opposite her progressed last name at 7:45. There was a full moon lunar eclipse ahead still, March 25th, 2024 at 5 degrees. So Venus, which rules her natal first name in Taurus, Venus rules Taurus and Libra. Venus at 4:58 was making a karmic inconjunct to her first name. Venus on the esoteric level is what we came in here as our spiritual career. So Venus is traveling through her 8th house doing the transformation. 8th house is also related to the magic and holistic therapies. So 4:58 here. Her last name at 7 degrees 50 minutes. I took liberties jumping that forward a couple of degrees. Sitting right here at her progressed last name. This is last name, but ending in woo. Woo as in woo-woo, spiritual happenings, things, beyond the veil, the subconscious things that happen in our lives. I use woo a lot for that, and it shows up very nicely when I can find it at the end of a name. So these are opposite transit Jupiter at 6:25, and her transit first name that was also retrograde at 8:45. So we have those, and they're making a T-square to Flood, again the Lemurian and Atlantean asteroid, her last name Wu, and her North Node path, all in the 12th house, which is a Pisces Neptune ruled house in Aquarius, her special brand of individuality and uniqueness. And opposite her progressed weathers, her Venus, and her South Node in Leo here. In the 6th house, which is a Virgo house, the house of the healer, daily routines and health. So we've got this big connection here. Mercury at 7 degrees 2 minutes here in transit through Capricorn, which of course is a career house, in an Aquarian house where her progressed Uranus and Neptune are. So her Uranus and Neptune natal and progressed are being activated. And she has progressed Poseidon at 7:44. Now Poseidon is, of course, Neptune. That rules all this 12th house here. We can just go in circles all day long. Her progressed midheaven at 7 degrees 11 minutes Mars had crossed over it. Mars moves very quickly. Transit America at 6 degrees 19 minutes. Of course, she works for the U.S. Post Office. And hail. I saw there was a lot of hail involved. Progressed hail and her progressed volcano. Volcano is another one that can be used for volcanoes, but is also related to Lemurian. So these are all sitting here high at her midheaven, opposite her first name, and then connecting to weathers, Venus, the lunar eclipse, March 25th, 24, to her progressed America at 7:25, to her current last name here, her transit last name with Wu after it, Mercury that rules all the Gemini and Virgo and 3rd and 6th house. So yeah, we just go in circles and show all the different connections. Now I can layer, which makes it even more confusing, the progress chart over the natal chart and show all that lined up. I can show the solar return chart, showing it was that year that it was going to happen by showing the solar return on its own, or layering the solar and natal. Uh, there's a lunar return that shows month to month that this was the month that was going to happen. And you can show it layered with the houses and all for that month of that year and how things were going to happen. And it's not that I want to say, hey, look, we're in a matrix. This is we all are here to do special things, and our inner knowing tells us what we're here to do. And the biggest thing is trusting in our truth, trusting that we know what to do, that we're in the right spot at the right time, even if it feels crappy, and to remember to always circle back to our hearts when it comes down to it. Drop our ego that we are no better than anybody else and nobody else is any better than us. We are very much all here in this crap together. And as you can see, her progressed apophis was also another 5 degrees. As I'm running my mouth, I'm still looking at things. You have Poseidon here. Oh, that's right. There's 2 Poseidons. All these different things are connecting. And the way that her charts connect to mine and the composite charts and everything, very interesting. So I hope you learned something. I'm going to quit rambling now, maybe. Here's Hades, retrograde at 13 degrees, 14 minutes. And I forgot the hearts. Speaking of the hearts, chaos here at 1 degree, 43 minutes in Cancer. That 1 degree, 43 minutes is right about where Neptune, Pluto, Saturn just was. Those are all currently, this chaos here is being activated by our outer planets right now. Jupiter is at 21 degrees right now in Cancer. So right here at her Britain bounds, and Chiron progressed there at the time, and her natal sun and Jupiter, her progressed term, and connecting to all those yellows. So anyway, 2 years. 2 years is a Mars cycle that rules Aries. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this now. I can just ramble forever. So I hope you enjoyed watching it and getting a little peek. And thank you for watching.